I've heard a lot of stories about catfishing online, but my catfishing story took place back in the early 90s. I can't remember exactly how it worked, but you could get the address of a random stranger. You could write to them. Pen pals. I had several of them. One kid was from Germany. There was a kid from Japan, I think. And the third pen pal was from Spain. At least that's what her address had said. We lived in New York at the time, and I guess I was around 14. It was cool waiting for the mailman to see if I had gotten any letters. The letters were all handwritten, except for the girl from Spain. Her letters were all written on a typewriter that she said she had gotten from her grandmother. She still added a personal touch with some stickers and sometimes a little drawing or something. Me and all of my pen pals exchanged photos, except for the girl in Spain. She told me that she lived in a very small town, that they weren't particularly rich, and that they didn't own a camera. She did send other things sometimes. Feathers from her chickens, pressed flowers from a field near her house, even a wrapper of a candy bar that she said she got for her birthday. It was the candy bar wrapper that set off alarm bells for me. I showed it to my mom, explaining everything to her. She stared at it, then asked me to bring all of the letters that this friend had sent me. She looked at them, and I felt her tense up. She told me to go pack a bag immediately. I was confused. Before I could ask her what was going on, she almost shouted at me. Her eyes were wide. She was clearly terrified, which immediately made me terrified as well. I had never seen her like that. I ran to the room and started packing some stuff, and I heard her on the phone talking to my dad. I remember she sounded like she was close to tears. After that, she rushed us to the car. The next thing I know, we're at the police station. The police started asking me and my mother what kinds of things that I had written to this friend of mine from Spain, what photos I'd sent, what personal info I'd given her, all that. Then they showed me the stamps on the envelopes, explaining that they had no postmark on them, and certainly not from Spain. We left the station, and my mom checked us into a hotel. We got dinner, and we were watching TV, and eventually my dad got there. His appearance scared me to death. His face was beaten up and his clothes were torn. He said that when he got home to grab some stuff, he found our mailman in my room. Our mailman. He was busy smelling my pillow when my dad walked in, and that's when he attacked him. Luckily, there was a police officer stationed there. He witnessed everything. For months, I had been exchanging letters with a creepy mailman, thinking he was a poor girl living in some small town in Spain. I lived in Daytona Beach, Florida, known for racing, beaches, and for memes. Yeah, the whole Florida man thing is real. I don't know why, but crazy seems to attach itself to some people in that state. I don't live there anymore. I'm a single father to twin girls. I lost my wife just after her first tour in Afghanistan, just after the twins had turned 2. After the funeral, I barely went out at all. It was only this year that my friend convinced me to try going on some dates. She helped me set up a profile on Tinder, and the swiping began. A lot of swiping left, but a profile popped up with a golden heart, which I was told meant that the lady had swiped right on me. I looked through her profile. She seemed like a good match. I swiped right, and shortly thereafter I received a message from her. We talked. She seemed really nice, attractive. It felt weird talking to a woman like this, though, this whole dating thing. I guess I'll never get over my wife, but we were really hitting it off. We decided to move our conversation to WhatsApp. She also sent me a link to her Instagram account. I clicked on the link. Every single photo on this Instagram account was in a sequence of 3. The first photo was of someone, sometimes male, sometimes female, then a photo of her, and then a photo of her in the woods with a shovel. Another thing I noticed was that in each photo, she looked like her picture on the dating app, but every shovel picture, it showed her with a wig and sunglasses. It was still unmistakably the same woman, but it was very odd. I then read some of the captions. They were each labeled as an experiment in the first 2 photos, and then the third, most disturbing photo always said, "Experiment failed." I didn't know what to think or what to do with this information. I was shocked. I was scared because it seemed like I had stumbled across a serial killer. Then she messaged me. She said she'd accidentally sent me the wrong link and I wasn't supposed to have seen that. I was like, okay, is this a joke? I thought of my daughter's safety immediately. This dating app thing had been a mistake, a nightmare. I blocked her number without responding. I thought of calling the police. Then a message from an unknown number came through. Why did you block me? I blocked that number, and immediately another message from another number. You shouldn't have done that, it said. Obviously, I blocked that number as well. And yet another message from a different number, each message becoming more threatening. But it was the last message that really sent chills up and down my spine. I know you're in there. I know you're home, alone. I know your girls are at your mother's house. The doorbell rang. I grabbed a baseball bat from the coat closet. I went to the bathroom. It had a fire escape outside the window in case I had to get out. I called the cops. As I was whispering to the respondent, I heard the front door being kicked in. The 15 minutes that it took for the police to arrive felt like a century. They got there and they arrested her. She had attacked one of the officers with the same axe she'd used to tear down my door. She was covered in blood and had weird symbols carved into her flesh, all self-inflicted, I'd later find out. She just kept screaming, moaning, or chanting this phrase over and over again. I would have been her 33rd victim, apparently. Now, she's in a special wing of a mental hospital. I'm really glad my daughters didn't have to see all that. I'm thankful. But I'll never forget her spouting all that meaningless garbage. I won't even try to pronounce it. It didn't even sound like a real language. One thing I do remember, though, is this one word or name or something. It sounded like Katauhu? Cthulhu? Cthulhu? I don't know. I just don't know. But it was weird. People these days are quick to say that catfishing is when a woman wears makeup and that a first date should be at a water park or a beach. Yeah, a woman wearing makeup to make herself look or feel beautiful is not the problem here. Maybe I'm biased because I strongly believe in personality over looks. Looks are great. But I have some friends a lot of people would call homely, but they're some of the most beautiful people I know. Anyway, you get the point. So I decided to opt in for this dating app. I'm not going to do a commercial for them. The name's not important. No pictures, just chatting for a long time before you actually get to see the person on the other side of the screen. It works pretty well, especially if you know that you're not judging each other on looks. I'm in my 40s, I look young for my age, and according to everyone I know, I'm pretty easy on the eyes. I'm also quite successful, and I come from a wealthy family. For these 3 reasons, I haven't gotten into any serious relationships, because they always end up being shallow and meaningless. The women are always more into my looks and my money, and really have no interest in an actual deep, meaningful connection. I am interested in finding true love, so that's why I decided to go for the online, blind dating option. That's how I met Elizabeth. I felt an instant connection with her. We talked forever. She was passionate about photography, animals, and said that she was a human trafficking lawyer in New Jersey. I was like, wow. We eventually decided to go on an actual date, but decided not to exchange photos. It wouldn't have made a difference. We decided to make the date a little more interesting by having it at a Halloween street carnival in upstate New York that coming Sunday. We made arrangements to meet at the Night Owl, a bar close to the carnival route. I would wear an old-school Hollywood Wolfman mask, and she'd wear a glittery black top hat with a smiling skull mask. I got there just after 10 in the morning. It was already crazy busy. I stood around trying to keep an eye out for her costume. Then I saw a group of women in skimpy outfits. All of them were wearing black top hats with death's head masks. One of them looked at me, said something to the other women. They all turned and then waved at me. I was a little confused, so I went down the street to meet them. As soon as I got there, I was pulled along until we got to the main street where a crowd of performers were waiting. The one woman took me by the hand. I literally got chills all over and felt like I needed to leave. Suddenly things felt wrong, really bad wrong. Some huge dude with a horned mask grabbed me, and the woman put a mask on my face that smelled like rubbing alcohol. Then everything went black. I woke up in a van with about 6 other guys. all of us had come to meet Elizabeth. By some miracle, the van was pulled over by the police for a traffic violation or something. They found us all in the back. I'm either the luckiest or unluckiest guy in history, I guess. Depends on how you look at it, I suppose. If you thought these stories were scary, then make sure you watch this next video here if you really want to be scared.